Tyson in the OVA Media News package for today, Thursday, March 19th, 2020. In our lead stories, nationally, Mini Olympics postponed until further notice, Open Day rescheduled to October 2020. And ECCB member governments to receive financial assistance to aid the COVID-19 pandemic. Regionally, Jamaican man beaten thrown off minibus after sneezing. Internationally, U.S. election 2020, Sanders assessing campaign after Biden rout. And in sports, coronavirus, England switching West Indies Test series to Caribbean unrealistic. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back. Another national news in detail.
The Cabinet of the NIA would have convened today under the chairmanship of the Honorable Alexis Jeffers as acting Premier, and has determined that in light of the strong recommendations of the primary sponsors and principal stakeholders, that this year's staging of the Inter-Primary Schools Championship, scheduled for April 1st, 2020, be postponed until further notice.
Premier Honorable Mark Brantley. He was speaking in relation to the golf insurance in the primary school athletics competition, alias Mini Olympics, which was originally slated for Wednesday, April 1st. Mr. Brantley gave the rationale behind the postponement of the Mini Olympics.
In the face of the threat of COVID-19, and in my government's usual consultative approach, a wide-ranging stakeholder meeting was convened and consultation was held with the primary sponsor of the Inter-Primary Championships, Golf Insurance, all the primary schools on the island, and our local task force leading the local effort on the island of Nevis. The task force voted unanimously that the event be suspended in light of the fact that the size of the event makes it difficult to control potential transmission and subsequent contact tracing.
The Honorable Mark Brantley. Meanwhile,
after consultations with the various stakeholders and the indication from the Taiwanese and our friends from Statia, who normally attend in large numbers, that they could not attend this year, the Cabinet has also accepted the recommendation that the Agricultural Open Day be postponed. At this point, consideration will be given to hosting the Agricultural Open Day in October 2020 as part of the World Food Day activities.
Premier Brantley on Thursday, March 19th, delivered an address regarding both the Mini Olympics and 2020 Agriculture Open Day. Open Day is an annual event here on Nevis which showcases local produce and products, as well as to give local vendors an opportunity to generate income. The event was slated for March 26th to the 27th, 2020. However, the Ministry of Agriculture here on Nevis, being cognizant of the need for greater food security, will host a farmers' market.
The Ministry and Department of Agriculture will, on the 26th of March 2020, stage a farmers' market at the top of Government Road and will stage a similar event at Beach Road on the 27th of March 2020.
Premier Honorable Mark Brantley. The Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, has approved grant funding in the sum of $4 million to the ECCB member governments to help in their fight against the novel coronavirus COVID-19. This comes on the recommendation of the ECCB Board of Directors. The countries include St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Half of the grant was disbursed last Friday, March 13th, to purchase testing and other critical equipment to detect, contain and manage COVID-19. The remainder will be utilized to procure equipment and supplies such as ventilators and drugs through the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Pharmaceutical Procurement Service, OECS PPS, a bulk procurement mechanism. On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. The ECCV is fully cognizant of the potential economic, financial, and social impact of COVID-19 on member countries. 241,555 cases of the coronavirus were recorded worldwide, with 9,982 deaths as of 3:45 p.m. today. In more national news,
I have also written formally to the banks and other financial houses on Nevis, asking them to proactively manage their relationships with the Nevisian people to ensure that proper arrangements can be made for those clients, especially those in the tourism industry, who might suffer a fall-off in pay during this very difficult period. I'm hereby appealing to the business sector to maintain steady prices and not hike prices in this difficult time. We are in this fight together, and I urge the private sector to partner with us in these efforts.
That's Nevis's Premier Venerable Mark Brantley. Premier Brantley on Monday, March 16th, also stated the following.
I have also directed that all non-essential travel for government ministers and public servants be suspended until further notice.
Premier Venerable Mark Brantley. The Federal Ministry of Health earlier this week issued a revised travel advisory for persons traveling from China, Italy, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Spain. The Ministry of Education, MOE, in St. Kitts is continuing its rigorous approach to raise awareness among ministry staff and prepare educational institutions to handle issues in relation to the coronavirus. Discussions continued on Tuesday, March 17th, with key ministry personnel from both St. Kitts and Nevis and representatives from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. The meeting focused on the way forward in the event that the Federation has to implement social distancing as a mitigation strategy to help curtail the spread of the virus. Chair of the SKN National Safe Schools Committee and the National Focal Point for the Model Safe Schools Program, SIDIMA, Dr. Tricia Esdale, said that social distancing in the case of educational institutions could lead to school closure. Social distancing is the action used to control the spread of contagious illnesses and includes measures such as workplace closure, closure of non-essential businesses and social services, which are those facilities that do not maintain primary functions in the community. Dr. Esdale outlined the ministry's response to the presence of COVID-19 in the region. The Ministry of Education completed its initial COVID-19 outreach to public and private early childhood centers on March 12th. The program of awareness in schools, which started on March 9th, is expected to be completed by Friday, March 20th. In the event of the suspension of the regular education program, a strategy for continuing education was presented by the Chief of Education Planning, Dr. Neva Pemberton. And finally, following the Ministry of Education in St. Kitts' continuity of coronavirus awareness activities in schools, the Ministry of Education here in Nevis has sought to sensitize the Nevisian public and assured that it is actively monitoring the global spread of COVID-19. In a statement, the ministry said, officials have been in constant contact with the Ministry of Health and have been making preparations for several different scenarios. We encourage the general public, particularly parents and guardians, to do the same. Although there are no confirmed cases of the virus in St. Kitts and Nevis, all are encouraged to continue to protect themselves and be prepared and to not panic. The Education Ministry also advised the public to pay close attention to the recommendations and information being disseminated by our local health officials and to ensure that the children are educated as well as aware of what is happening around them. The Ministry of Education to date has engaged in the following: partnered with the Ministry of Health in a school sensitization campaign, met with the school leaders to discuss the plans for various scenarios, and distributed additional cleaning and sanitization supplies to all schools. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Bank of Nevis, we know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our Be Online internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Out of Jamaica. A 38-year-old farmer from Betheltown, Westmoreland, said that he was beaten and thrown off a bus on Monday after he sneezed multiple times and was accused of carrying the deadly COVID-19. Garnet Blade told the Star that his body is swollen and sore all over from the sound thrashing he got from the angry mob. He said that after carrying goods to the Charles Gordon Market in Montego Bay, he took a minibus back home. Blair said that he told them that he had always been troubled by sinus problems, but after he sneezed twice more soon after, hell broke loose. After the Cayman Islands, Butterfield Bank and other financial institutions are offering mortgage relief to customers impacted by the coronavirus crisis. Butterfield Bank and other financial institutions, Butterfield Cayman National and RBC Royal Bank, are implementing measures to provide financial relief to clients impacted by the COVID-19 health crisis. In addition to lowering personal lending and mortgage rates, which will become effective on 23rd March, Butterfield will introduce a 3-month automatic payment deferral on all residential mortgages and personal loans in good standing. This means customers will not be making principal and interest payments for the next 3 months, and any penalties will be waived. This will assist customers who may be facing lower incomes or cash inflow at this time, the bank said in a press release. The International Monetary Fund on Tuesday rejected economically devastated Venezuela's request for a $5 billion loan to help to cope with the onslaught of coronavirus on the country that an aid agency warned is as prepared as war-torn Syria. President Nicolas Maduro made the request earlier Tuesday, but in a statement hours later, the Washington-based institution indirectly cited a dispute over Maduro's leadership in denying his petition. In a letter to IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva, Maduro said a $5 billion loan from the IMF's Rapid Financing Instrument RFI will contribute significantly to strengthening the detection and response system. It was the country's first loan request to the IMF since 2001. Unfortunately, the fund is not in a position to consider this request because there is no clarity on international recognition of the country's government, the Washington-based institution said in a statement. As we have mentioned before, IMF engagement with member countries is predicated on the official government's recognition by the international community, as reflected in the IMF's membership There is no clarity on recognition at this time, the statement said. More than 50 countries, including the United States, have not recognized Maduro for more than a year after switching allegiance to opposition leader Juan Guaido, who declared himself acting president. Guyana's major ports of entry will be closed from midnight tomorrow as authorities try to stem the spread of the novel coronavirus COVID-19, which has resulted in one death in the Caribbean Community CARICOM country. The Civil Aviation Authority, in order to slow the process of this virus and in consultation with the Ministry of Health, has decided that with the approval of the Cabinet Task Force to close all airports to all international flights. Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, GCAA, retired Lieutenant Colonel Egbert Field, announced at a press conference on Tuesday. The closure of the Chedi Jagan International Airport and the Eugene Correa Airport will be for 2 weeks in the first instance, but an extension could be implemented if necessary. There will be exceptions made for outgoing flights, cargo flights, medevac flights, technical stops of aircraft that require fuel, and specifically authorized flights. Domestic flights will still be allowed, but Field said those will be closely monitored. Guyana joins Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname in the Caribbean and several countries in other parts of the world that are closing their borders. Guyana's first COVID-19 case was also the region's first death from the virus that was first detected in China last November. The 52-year-old woman who traveled from the U.S. died in the Georgetown Public Hospital a day after being admitted with severe respiratory illness. And finally, out of St. Martin. Schools and businesses providing non-essential services across the country are required to close for 2 weeks as of Wednesday, March 18th until April 1st, and the police force will be taking a zero-tolerance approach to businesses that are not in compliance. The move comes as the country recorded its first confirmed case of the coronavirus COVID-19. Not allowed to open are educational institutions, with the exception of classes that can be given remotely, daycare centers, early childhood development institutions, all schools, universities, training facilities, retail stores such as those selling clothing, jewelry and souvenirs, sales outlets and shopping centers, vending stalls at the Phillipsburg Marketplace. Additionally, conference facilities, outdoor establishments that accommodate events, outdoor recreational activities, casinos, standalone as well as those attached to hotels, nightclubs, and dance establishments, adult entertainment centers, art galleries and other exhibition halls, recreational centers, cinemas, businesses offering recreational activities such as zip line, boat trips, quads, etc., gyms and other indoor and outdoor sports facilities, museums, hair and nail salons, and barber shops are not allowed to open. And that's it for the regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and all the international news in detail. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders will assess his campaign after suffering more losses to Joe Biden in Tuesday's primary contest. Mr. Biden won in all 3 states to hold votes, expanding his lead. Mr. Sanders will discuss his options with supporters, his campaign said. Meanwhile, Mr. Biden appealed to Sanders' backers to anoint him as a Democrat nominee to face President Donald Trump in November. Mr. Biden, 77, won a big victory over Mr. Sanders, 78, in Florida, the biggest prize of the night with 219 delegates. The former vice president won 62% of the votes and about 130 delegates. Mr. Sanders, with only 23%, took some 48 delegates, with the rest still to be distributed. In Illinois, Mr. Biden trounced the left-wing Vermont senator with a margin of over 20% and at least double the number of delegates. With most votes counted in Arizona, Mr. Biden has a double-digit lead over Mr. Sanders in the southwestern state. A Democratic candidate needs 1,991 delegates to claim the nomination. On Wednesday, Mr. Sanders' campaign said the senator who lost the 2016 Democratic nomination following a surprisingly strong performance will consider his next steps. European nations are examining extending the lockdowns put in place to try to stem the coronavirus outbreak. A lockdown imposed on March 12th in Italy, where the number of deaths have overtaken China, will now extend beyond the original March 25th end date. France said its 15-day lockdown might be extended, with the European leaders reluctant to give any deadline for an end to crisis measures. There have been 241,555 cases worldwide, with 9,982 deaths as of 3:45 p.m. today. More in this BBC report.
Thousands of people have been fined for not abiding by the rules, and in the north, where there's the highest number of coronavirus cases, officials are warning that hospitals are close to turning people away from treatment because they're struggling to cope with the high number of patients. In Bergamo, the military has been brought in to move dozens of coffins from the city to other regions as crematoriums are overwhelmed with the number of dead.
China, for the first time, recorded no new homegrown cases of the coronavirus. 34 new infections, which were recorded in the country, were all among people coming from abroad. In Wuhan, the city where the outbreak began, residents have begun to leave their homes for the first time in 6 weeks. Here is more from the BBC's Michael Bristow.
This is a country we've been looking at for the past few months as a source of the disease, where most infections were reported. No new domestically transmitted cases, an extraordinary figure really. And in Wuhan, the centre of the disease, this city, people have been allowed out slowly in groups. So domestic infections stopped, but imported cases rising.
And finally, New Zealand's parliament has passed a bill decriminalising abortion and allowing women to choose a termination up to 20 weeks into a pregnancy. Voting to remove the procedure from the country's Crimes Act challenges a law that has been in force since 1977. Previously, 2 doctors were required to approve an abortion, and this could only happen if there was a serious danger to the pregnant woman's health. The bill passed on its third reading by 68 votes to 51. An earlier plan to put the issue to a public referendum was abandoned during the proceedings. From now, abortions will be rightly treated as a health issue, Justice Minister Andrew Little said in a statement following the vote on Wednesday. The previous law required a woman seeking an abortion to go through many hoops, he said, adding, the changes agreed to by Parliament will better ensure women get advice and treatment in a more timely way. That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
Worked hard to acquire your very first home, your dream car, your business, your personal property. The TDC Insurance Company knows how much they mean to you and understand the importance of protecting your investment. We offer the best solutions with affordable rates, a straightforward process, and a range of options to discount your overall premium. At TDC Insurance Company, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. Give us a call at 465-2845 or 469-5430 or visit our website at www.tdcinsurance.com.
Welcome back to World Sports in Detail. In cricket, switching this summer's Test series from England to the Caribbean is an unrealistic option, says Cricket West Indies chief Johnny Grave. The 3 Test series to start at the Oval on June 4th is in doubt because of the coronavirus pandemic. Grave is reported as saying a switch was a possibility, but he told BBC Sport, "I have not had any discussions with England over whether we can host. It would be strange that England can't have cricket, but the Caribbean can." He added, "Realistically, without knowing anything about pandemics, if England can't hold cricket, then it almost certainly means the rest of the world can't hold cricket either. I think it is an unrealistic option." In more sports. It is too early to decide whether to cancel the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but nobody is saying we're going to the Games come what may, says World Athletics chief Lord Coe. The International Olympic Committee has said the Games could still begin on 24th July despite the coronavirus pandemic. Coe told BBC Sport, "Let's not make a precipitous decision when we don't have to 4 months out. If you had to ease that date, you'd have to ease it. Anything is possible." Cricket West Indies CWI says it will face a logistical nightmare in rescheduling its international home series if the coronavirus pandemic results in a disruption to those fixtures. Of main concern for the governing body is the 3-match one-day international series against New Zealand, which is part of the qualification process for the 2023 World Cup, and the 2-test rubber out against South Africa that forms part of the World Test Championship. Both series have been carded for July but have been placed in jeopardy by the coronavirus, which has now hit the Caribbean and forced CWI to suspend its domestic competitions for a minimum of 30 days. The challenge with rescheduling is that the schedule is already too tight. CWI Chief Executive Johnny Grave told CMC Sports. In local sports, the Montessori Primary School held its annual sports meet on Friday, March 13th at the Bath Village playing field under the patronage of Jazik Chiverton. The final points were Greenhouse 256 points, Blue House 248 points, and Red House 197 points. In more local sports. The Navy's Amateur Basketball Association NABA has indicated that the association will be hosting a series of matches this coming Saturday night, March 21st. The venue will be the Craddock Road Basketball Court, and the first game will be played at 6:30 p.m., featuring the NABA Chargers versus Spanish team from St. Kitts, and then later in the evening, they will engage a Spanish team based in Nevis. In football. FIFA has established a working group to tackle the issues facing football as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The group will look at the international fixture calendar and issues around player contracts. Most deals expire on June 30th, but if restarted, many leagues could continue beyond that date in an attempt to finish their current campaigns. The group will also look at whether more funding is required to help clubs, players, and governing bodies impacted. FIFA also announced it had donated $10 million to the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. The decisions to reschedule Euro 2020 and the Copa America to 2021 were also ratified, with the new dates formally included in the international match calendar. And finally, the International Olympic Committee says it had held constructive talks with athlete representatives about the coronavirus crisis. President Thomas Bach admitted he was confronted with many questions over qualification and restrictions. However, he also insisted that everybody realize that we still have more than 4 months to go until Tokyo 2020. The summer showpiece is still scheduled to begin on July 24th, despite the cancellation of other sports events. There has been mounting criticism from athletes, with the IOC accused of putting them in danger by insisting it remains fully committed to the Games. Olympic champion Katarina Stefaniding said the IOC was risking our health, while Britain's Katarina Johnson-Thompson said training had become impossible. Speaking in an in-house IOC interview, Bach said, "We have just had a really great call with 220 athlete representatives from all around the world. It was very constructive and gave us a lot of insight." That's it for sports. The General Weather Report is next. I'm back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Winds are east to northeast at 22 to 30 kilometers per hour or 12 to 16 knots, with gusts of 46 kilometers per hour or 25 knots. Seas are 1.5 to 1.8 meters or 5 to 6 feet. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:14 a.m. And that's a wrap up the media news package for today, Thursday, March 19, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Mini Olympics postponed until further notice, open day rescheduled to October 2020. And ECCB member governments to receive financial assistance to aid the COVID-19 pandemic. Regionally, Jamaican man beaten, thrown off minibus after sneezing. Internationally, U.S. election 2020, Sanders assessing campaign after Biden run. And in sports, coronavirus, England switching West Indies Test series to Caribbean, unrealistic. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashwan Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.